ToplessRobot.com presents...
You're listening to Animated Opinions, the only animation podcast based solely in California. I'm your host, Melanie.
And I am Emily.
Today, we are back. Pew, 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 air horn noise, for season 4.
Yeah, there is literally no demand for this, but much like Robert Zemeckis, we cannot be stopped. Throwback to
true.
Fucking season 1, bitch.
No one can stop Robert Zemeckis. No one can stop us from watching animated movies and telling you about them.
No, Disney stopped Robert Zemeckis. So until Disney comes for us, we're going to keep going forever.
I don't know if a C&D from Disney could stop me. I think it would only embolden me. I'd become a criminal on the run, podcasting from secret locations to take down the mouse.
As somebody who is fueled solely on spite at this point in my life and mainly in my career, I feel like a C&D from Disney, I would just go to Disney and infiltrate and just take them down from the inside.
Okay, so Disney, send us a C&D so our podcast can get better, please and thank you.
Yeah, we'll be podcasting on there. I'll text you and just be like, hey, can you record right now? I'm not being chased by the authorities. And you'll be like, bitch, hold on. I gotta find a place to hide.
I'm re-dyeing my hair for the 3rd time this week. I'm pretty sure I saw somebody with mouse ears looking at me.
Oh my god, that's what happens when you go on vacation at a Disneyland resort.
Well, obviously, I mean, where else is better to hide than in plain sight?
That's very true.
The mouse will not be looking for me on Disney properties.
Ooh. Unless it's like those weird creepypasta Disney mice where it's just like, don't talk to the children with black eyes. And you're like, why the fuck would I talk to children anyway?
That's very true. I'm not talking to any children unless legally obligated to. And let me tell you, the law cannot catch me.
Yeah, no, I would, what?
We watched Disco Worms.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Speaking of things that no one wanted that the world still got anyway, our podcast and Disco Worms are on the same list.
Who was Disco Worms for? When I finished the movie, I realized that this wasn't a movie for children.
It is, though.
And then, yeah, but it's not. Like, if you wanted to make a movie for kids about worms grooving to disco, I feel like it would have been more fun.
Okay, you have to remember that European children are just, like, mentally superior to American children, and this is a European film.
Are European children having existential crises about being locked into an office job for the rest of their lives?
They just understand it more. Like, they have the attention span to understand what it is to have an existential crisis.
Okay, but, like, Cars 3 was about the existential crisis of getting old, but also featured cars driving and, like, in races and stuff. It both told a story about retirement and finding your purpose after retirement while also being the Cars movie. This, I feel like, did not do a good enough job of also being a movie about worms boogieing. I wanted more worm boogieing and less, we're worms, we can't boogie.
I think there was a mark that was missed when it came to writing. And it was just like, kids will relate to this because you have to be your own person and you can't just be trapped in your place in society if you're not happy with it. And I'm just like, but you fucking can be, bitch.
Yeah, but I liked that about the main character, that he was always ready to just go. Like, yeah, I don't want to just be a worm. I want to do cool stuff. I thought that was actually good energy from him. But the rest of the characters in the world took way too long to catch up with him.
He wanted to make his own disco group. Also, why fucking disco? Just start an indie band like everyone else. Although that was okay.
Because disco songs are cheap to license, Emily. That's why the Disco Worms and not the anything else worms. They didn't have to write their own music, but also you can get a disco song for $10.
That was one of my first indications that this was not an American film was disco. I was like, you want to know who still loves disco? Europe.
Yeah. Okay, should we actually get into it? You have a lot of information here about the production of this film.
Okay,
And I guess the people want to know. Do you want to know, listeners at home? If you leave us feedback, we'd be more than happy to cut or add on new parts of our podcast.
Okay, so there was kind of a stalemate that you pointed out. It was to see who would write the plot summary first. Turns out you didn't have to write the plot summary. All you had to do was be able to translate German Wikipedia.
Oh.
But the other thing was, if you were searching disco worms, you weren't going to find it. You had to look for Sunshine Berry und die Disco Würmer. So,
sorry.
Quick rundown of Disco Worms. Der Held dieses Animationsfilm ist ein junger Regenwurm namens Barry. Everybody on this? We got this?
Yes.
Does everybody speak German?
I actually don't think we have any listeners in Germany, though we do have a few listeners in the Philippines who I would like to personally say hello to.
Hi!
If you're listening from the Philippines, awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, okay. I pretty much put this here because I wanted you to see what kind of compound words I had to deal with when learning German. But really, okay, so a lot of the information that I was finding on this, despite it being a Danish film, were predominantly written in German. Also, I really love the title of Sunshine Berry und die Disco Würmer. It's so good.
It is super good.
So yeah, Barry puts a band together, something. It's fucking worms make a disco band. That's it. That's the whole fucking movie. Now, the director of this, Thomas, I couldn't decide on how to pronounce this. I would say Borsch, but it's a CH and not an SH. What do you think?
You know better than I do. I am so bad at other languages.
Thomas Borch Nielsen began his career as a VFX soup, directing features and commercials in his home country of Denmark. So, all right. You know how... I swear this all is going to make sense. You know how sometimes someone is telling you a story and you're just like, oh my god, that would make a great movie, but then, like, nothing ever comes of it?
Yeah.
That should have been what happened with Disco Worms, but it didn't. So, this movie began because Nielsen has a soft spot for worms. In his own words, one day I was listening to Play That Funky Music on my iPod while picking up a worm. The worm wriggled in my hand to the rhythm of the music, and I spontaneously said, "Look, a disco worm." And suddenly, I had the idea for an animated movie.
That's a funny gag in life. And I think that's a great tweet. Or a vine.
I'm Disco Verma.
It's a dope vine, and I feel like I've already seen that, but it's worms.
No, it's with the caterpillars where he does the dubstep beat, and he's like, boomts, boomts, and the caterpillars kind of dance to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great 7 seconds. It's not a great hour and a half.
Yeah, so... Oh, God. Yeah. So Nielsen at least has, like, really good personal inspiration when it comes to movies and shit. For animation, he loves Aardman and Pixar. And here is where I make my claim that it was the fault of the writing in this movie. And it makes me really sad because the reason that Nielsen likes Aardman and Pixar is that they always claim that story is king and they put it above all else. Story above everything. If you've got a... The cat is screaming. The cat has figured out how to get into my room. God damn it.
Hi, Donovan.
Hey, bud. He's mad about... I think he wants. Hold on. He wants me to open my blinds and then he'll stop screaming because he wants to lay in the sunshine, but he needs me to be here for him to lay in the sunshine because he's an asshole. Welcome to my life. There you go, bud. No, why are you like this? He's stuck. I'm real sorry, everybody. Pause for cat.
No worries.
Pause for asshole. Oh. Oh, he wants to be in my chair. I was very wrong. You can't be in my chair because I'm in it, fucker. Okay. Now that I've had this delightful conversation with my roommate's cat, Nielsen cites Pixar and Aardman as inspirations because they put story above all else. They put their money where their mouth is. And he really, really enjoyed Aardman's own charming, creative style. And once I read that, the whole look of the movie made a little bit more sense to me. But, all right. Disco Worms. Nielsen, working together with screenwriter Morten Dragstedt, the first script draft was presented to producer Nina Krohn. Cool. We've got a scriptwriter. We have a producer. It took a year to get the script and the designs finalized, and then about 8-ish months to put the financing together. It took a year to design worms.
Okay.
But unappealing worms. Like, if it had taken a year and the designs were more appealing, I would understand that.
I'm going to actually go out on a limb here and say that this is a low-budget movie, and unlike a lot of the lower-budget movies we watch, say something like Happily Never After, this is one of the ones that took its low budget and said, yeah, but they said, okay, we're going to work around this, and we're going to make characters that don't need to be lit super well. We're going to make characters that don't have a lot of textures. We're going to make sure that, like, nothing looks super plasticky, and I really appreciated that. Though this is clearly a low-budget movie, it is a low-budget movie that people planned around.
Yes, they knew for a goddamn fact that they did not have the budget for shit.
Yeah.
And we'll address that at the end. I talk a little bit about the budget. So 8-ish months to put the financing for this together. And according to Nielsen, the most difficult part of the production of Disco Worms involved political changes and how to support film production in Denmark. So their financing got delayed, but they still had to hit all of their production deadlines. So when you've got no money because your government is just like, I don't know, fucking, I guess we're changing everything. It's like, well, fuck, guys, come on. We still gotta make this movie. And that I could not imagine having a government. And I think it's because we live in the States and I work, for a large studio that does not we don't get this kind of shit from the government. And I say shit, it's just like a broad term for financial support and incentive and how films are handled and distributed because we're not Europe and we don't have our lives together. That being said, it's got to be a lot. Like, you don't know how your country is going to handle and support film production, but you're making a movie. It's like, oh shit, okay. And because of that, I will kill this cat. Because of that, there was really not a lot of production time, and there was no pre-production. And most of the animatic for the film was made during its production. And Nielsen said, it's very difficult to make detailed production plans for a scene because that scene had not been storyboarded yet. And gives the advice, he says, my best advice is every day spent in preparation is 10 days saved in production. Make sure the animatic and designs are 100% in place before you start, and it will save you a lot of money and headaches too. That's just common sense. But yeah. I guess when you don't have the full support of your government, it changes things a little. Why would the government support Disco Worms? Who wanted this?
That's a great question.
The production? I was just gonna...
No one wanted it.
Hey, Nielsen did. Nielsen. So speaking of, this looks like a small budget movie. Let me fucking tell ya. The production took 16 months. Okay, that's a decent time frame. That's a year and change. Usually films are a little bit longer. I mean, it's nothing like a game, where games are, years and years and years and years, apparently. Whereas a film, it's just like, all right, we got this, everything's approved, yeet it out. In some cases. In some, it's just like, this film took 3 years to make, it's fine. All of the artistic aspects of production, so the modeling, the rigging, the texturing, the animation, the lighting, the compositing, that all took place in Copenhagen at Radar Film, which respect, because this whole movie was made by around 30 people, but in the last few months of production, that number approached 50 so that they could push it out. Fucking respect. My department is 15 people, including production staff. That's counting leads. That's counting our prod manager. That's counting our production coordinator and our department soup.
If you count all the people that work at my place of employment to make one functional mobile game, it's like 200. So
yeah, 200 was the size of my former VFX studio if we were ignoring fire code. But my current studio, hundreds of people work on a movie at any given time.
Yeah, again, Disco Worms impresses me because I know that it was small and they did their best with what they had.
But you never know how small until, because a lot of the times you can kind of guess how many people worked on a film based on how it looks. But you're not, Disco Worms, if you had told me that 100 people worked on this production, I would have been like, oh, okay. But now that, because I looked up Radar Film, because it came out, it was the first title you saw on the screen. And I was like, okay, they probably have less than 100 people. And whether or not they have less than 100 people worked on Disco Worms. Therefore, A, I was mentally correct. And B, it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But speaking of people who didn't want this movie, and yet we have this movie, this premiered at the fucking Toronto International Film Festival in 2008. TIFF. Fucking TIFF. We have shit premiering at TIFF.
Who do you think went and was like, I'm going to go see this Disco Worms movie? That sounds
I
like
don't
a
know,
good
but
time.
I want to have a conversation with them because I want to know what happened. I want to know who at TIFF was just like, Disco Worms, gotta make it happen. And then Disco Worms happened, and I want to know who went to go see Disco Worms at TIFF.
Important question. Do you think
What?
they screened the German version or the English version?
I don't know if it was actually in German or whether it was in Danish. I think they had both.
Sorry.
I don't know. Okay, I feel like the film is Danish, but all of the articles I could find about Disco Worms were written in German. It is a co-production. It is a Danish-German co-production.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I don't know. So I started Disco Worms. I started watching it and went, there's no way this could be American. It has to be. And my brain went, Swedish. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh man, Swedes are rolling right now because I called a Danish film a Swedish film.
Woof.
Woof. Poor guys. Anyway.
At Sweden, please don't unfollow our podcast. We love you.
At whole country of Sweden, please.
Well, yeah, I know that our podcast is the national anthem of Sweden.
Let me get all up in that. Thank you, Sweden. The theatrical release in Denmark was on the 10th of October in 2008, and in Germany on the 29th of October, 2009. A full year. However, well, not a however, it's just the first broadcast on German television was on the 30th of December, 2011 on Super RTL. Somebody was like, let's broadcast Disco Worms. Cool. And then the film was also nominated for the Danish Film Award in 2009 in the category of Best Children Family Film.
Okay.
Also, I have a list of all of the songs that were played, I believe in order. A lot of them were reused, though. Also, they were entirely covered by Danish people and some German people. But they were still in English. So I was unclear as to what happened there. Like whether we got the English European versions, because Disco Worms was weird. We got to listen to Boogie Wonderland, Feelings, Disco Inferno, Upside Down, Yes Sir, I Can Boogie, Edge of Hostility, YMCA, Blame It on the Boogie, Love to Love You Baby, I Want to Survive, Le Freak, and Play That Funky Music, White Boy, in a movie about worms having their their millennial-esque fucking office job-ass crisis.
Yeah, here's the thing, though. Most of these aren't performances so much as they are incidental music. I would say 4 of them are performances, which is kind of disappointing. When I saw the song list for this movie, I was like, oh, wow, they're going to do, like, a fun behind-the-music kind of thing with these disco worms and, like, pretending they invented disco. That should be a good time. Like, that'll be a funny movie. No. No. Watching this movie, I have been horrified by films we've watched before. I've been bored by films we watched before. I've never been so disappointed that I've made up my own better movie while watching the movie. Like, that's how bored I was.
I can't say I was bored because I was having a lot of fun looking up the production of this film. So I feel like I'm the odd one out here. I kind of just accepted it for what it was and rolled with the punches.
I wanted more. And I'm not saying this is like I needed the movie to be better. I just think that you could have written a funnier concept around the base of Disco Worms and made a better B-grade animated movie without any big changes to production. More just writing a funnier script and using a tighter concept.
Yeah, I
really think that if I took a crack at this, I could do it.
I also just did not feel like even touching the plot of this movie. I was like, mentally I could make this. This isn't like my food fight, where I'm just I could make this movie better. I was just like, I don't even want to think about how I can make Disco Worms better because I would have to think actively about Disco Worms. And I did not want to do that.
Yeah. This isn't my Paul Blart 3 Paul of America, TM. But it's something that I feel is important.
Wait, there's a Paul Blart 3?
No, I have written a treatment for Paul Blart 3 that I would like to sell to Adam Sandler because I think that he should take me under his wing as a young Jewish woman who could, in theory, work in comedy writing.
Isn't that just everyone who currently writes comedy?
I think it's still a boys' club. I don't know, though. I haven't actually looked into that. That's a good point.
Okay, because I feel like, so the people that everybody, like, hypes up, I feel like, are white dudes. But I feel like a majority of the funny shit that happens is Jewish women.
That I fully agree with. Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I thought so.
Okay.
That's my take. That's my hot take for Disco Worms.
That's a good hot take. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm into that hot take. At any rate, we should get into Disco Worms, which, like...
Yeah. I mean, we have been, but, like,
So, worms are hated and viewed as uncool in the insect community. They don't have arms, they eat dirt, they suck. Barry, our main character, is a daredevil and he wants to have a better life. He wants to be cool, in essence. He's starting an office job in compost, which he's not excited about, when he sees a beautiful blonde worm, Gloria, who's taken by musicians. This is really it. This is what's happening. Barry has a fat friend. His name is the Fat One.
Why do the worms have hair? His name is Tito.
Oh, well, I'm calling him the Fat One. After finding an old disco record in his dad's things, Barry decides to enter the Insect World Song Contest to win $10,000 and I guess be insect famous. And so Gloria will pay attention to him and his wormy body.
Why do the worms have hair?
That's like 30 minutes of this movie.
Why do the worms have hair?
Why are the worms flesh colored? Why aren't they pink?
And why do the lady worms have titties?
They did have titties. They had worm titties.
They had titties.
Skirts. As one of my notes says, tits on a worm, skirt on a worm.
I feel, okay, hear me out. I know nothing about metal, but I feel like we could write an entire metal album screaming about disco worms. Because I saw that. Tits on a worm, skirt on a worm. That's a fucking metal lyric that you just scream.
Oh, yeah.
Tits on a worm.
Oh, it's good.
Think about how funny it would be.
But tits on a worm is also like a very fun, unique curse. Like you drop a glass and it shatters and you're just like, oh,
tits on a worm. Oh, yeah. Man. We should try and loop that into the vernacular of popular culture.
I think it's time for us to make TikToks about tits on a worm.
Oh my god. Let's make an animated Minions fuck.
Animated Minions.
Anemone.
It's us, but we're the minions.
Oh god, I'll fucking cosplay as a minion and scream about tits on a worm. If that's what gets us attention, that's what gets us attention.
So, this podcast is officially switching over to TikToks.
Oh, God, goodbye. It's only TikToks. This podcast in TikTok form. TikTok fuckers. Anyway, so you complained about the lip sync, and I immediately went, calling it now, production company. Also, there was weirdly minimal sound design, and then my Google search actually went through because my internet was really slow last night. So it took me about 5 minutes to get the return on the Google search to learn that it's a German-Danish film.
God damn. Again, on the low budget thing, they had a lot of matte painted backgrounds and they did a good job using them.
Because it's so easy to do.
Yeah, but, I appreciate that. Sometimes they don't. And this movie, they did.
That's true. That's very true. You also had talked about how the worms were flesh-colored. You went off about that when we talked about worm titties. And I don't think I hated the color of the worms. I think I hate the weirdly limited color palette that they had going on, because, earthworms are bland as shit, but still, it's a movie about disco worms.
Yeah, I wanted it to be fun and colorful.
I wanted it to be good.
There's a human in this, and he has some features, and he walks, so this is 10 out of 10 better than Izzy's Way Home.
Yes.
Also in this opening sequence, which is just the opening sequence to Barnyard and Mars Needs Moms and 100 other movies we've watched.
Oh my god, you're right.
Yeah, the main character is male, does something dangerous that's kind of cool, so that way you like him, but also know he's a little bit of a loser, etc., etc., but also it's great to open on slapstick, because that's what gets the kids' attention. There's, over-exaggerated, sort of Looney Tunes-esque squash and stretch on Barry, particularly in his, in his expressions. And I thought that worked really well, that they used the limited character design to their advantage in this particular sequence.
Yeah. Tits on a worm, skirts on a worm. I looked up at the exact second I read that. I read your note, tits on a worm, looked up and saw... what's her name?
Barry's
Donna?
mom.
No, I looked up and saw the worm secretary,
Oh.
who had the biggest titties. She was in
did.
like a worm push-up bra. She had huge worm titties. Her
Hey, man.
Donna, yeah.
She was naturally gifted.
Yeah, worm titties. She got huge ass worm titties. She's
Here's a
looking
question.
good. Yeah, uh-huh.
Why did Barry's parents go to his first day of work with him? Both of them.
It's like B movie. Everybody works in the same worm hive.
Oh shit, this is just B movie.
Yeah, because Barry's dad is just like, I've been working in composting for 45 years, Barry. And Barry's like, I don't want to work in composting for 45 years, Dad. What if I want to do something else? And their mom's just like, go to work and make money. Give up on your dreams, Barry. Barry's B.
Mom.
Benson.
Do. Conspiracy unlocked.
Oh my god. I was just thinking about how much better this movie would have been if literally any one of the characters went, do you like jazz?
Oh my god.
Think about it. Think about it. This movie is B movie. What came first, this or B movie?
B movie.
Did it?
101%. B movie, I'm pretty sure, was in like 2005.
I want to say B movie was 08.
No way. Because I was like...
07. Fuck you. Yeah. I was closer.
Yeah, but I was right that it came before.
Okay, well, it came real close to before. So this was 2007. B movie came out in 08. Sorry. Disco Worms came out in 08.
Can you imagine if instead of an unknown Danish production company making Disco Worms was the Pixar equivalent of B movie?
Oh my, so like DreamWorks Pixar competing again?
Yeah, like, you know, they did Shark Tale and Finding Nemo, A Bug's Life, and Ants, where it's just kind of accidental same thoughts.
Yeah.
But Disco Worms versus B movie.
Disco Worms. I think if Pixar had made Disco Worms, Disney never would have purchased them.
Can you imagine, like, Disco Worms being an emotional powerhouse that people love? Like, instead of making Ratatouille about a rat that cooks, they're like a worm that boogies.
Don't bring Ratatouille into this.
Well, like, think about how dumb the concept of Ratatouille is.
No, I love Ratatouille. You can't.
Oh, Ratatouille's amazing, but it's amazing because of the Pixar magic sauce. Because we've seen Ratatouilleing. We've seen where that concept can go.
We've seen where that concept can go when you have poor writing and no budget.
Yeah.
So Disco Worms.
So you have to imagine Disco Worms, but in the opposite situation, where it's got money and love poured into it.
I feel like there was love poured into this, but they didn't have proportionate amounts of love, time, and money. Because I think that's what makes an excellent movie. A combination of love, the time to develop that love, and the money to develop that love. Because if you can't buy your movie a diamond ring, you might as well just give it up.
Well, it's like a good, fast, and cheap in the design world.
It is. It's the good, fast, and cheap, but it's less... I don't want to say good, fast, and cheap is offensive, but it's the same triangle. Good, fast, and cheap are love, time, and money. Because if a film is good, it means someone loved it. You know? Like, you can't have a good movie without someone really loving it. Like, goddamn, I would fuck this movie and marry it. We have to move on. I started sending Nacho Libre gifs to men on Twitter, Tinder during this. So I kind of clocked out.
Barry's mom is fucking terrible, by the way.
It reminds me of my dad.
Dad is that mean and also has that big of tits?
Yeah, my dad has huge tits.
Also, this is the first time I'm going to mark that this movie is slow. It's so slow.
I really wasn't paying attention because I was thinking about disco and how it had to be European because, yeah, they do love that some disco. And I was correct. Then I thought about just sleeping on the couch because it was approaching midnight and I was watching Disco Worms. So for me, it has been approximately less than, it's been around 12 hours since I've seen this movie. And I couldn't tell you what happens in most of it. I just know that it's a B movie knockoff. And I have the note, I'm more worried about Barry B. Benson's sentient tale and the fact that he's been possessed by a disco ghost. Why does Barry still live at home? And why does Barry's mom have tits? Because it is really weird, but then if you also think about it, there's less of a stigma about living at home in Europe when you're like starting out.
Well, yeah, and I also
there's way less of a stigma. So like in the US, it's just like, I'm 18, I have to move out, I have to make it. Whereas in Europe, it's like, I don't want to say normal, but I think it's more normalized and accepted that after you've graduated and you're just kind of getting on your feet, it's more acceptable and normalized to live with your family. Like there's no just like, you're 18, bitch, get out.
The familial relationships are also different.
Yeah, they're, stronger. I grew up in a broken, loveless home. Moving on.
Gloria arrives to audition for Barry's disco band, but she can't sing. She's just a nightmare. She's the worst. Barry still wants her in because he wants to get that worm pussy. Barry goes to a metal club to get a guitar. Pussy.
Worm pussy. Wussy?
Wussy.
Wussy?
He wants that like wussy.
It. He wants that.
Oh no, it's too late.
Okay.
Barry goes to a metal club, which looks like a hard rock cafe, to get a guitarist who specializes in air guitar. You would think that this would be like the fun segments of the movie. No, it's pretty boring and straightforward. The secretary from their job joins the band as a drummer because she knows how to drum for some reason. And their progress as a band as they're getting into the groove of things is shot down by a famous Beatle artist who's angling to win the music contest. He blocks them from entering the competition and starts dating Gloria.
But Gloria's only dating him to help the band, right?
Yep.
Okay,
but not really. She also wants to just have her own career.
Yeah.
It's confusing. Also, sometimes the dialogue in this movie feels like it just went through Google Translate. Like it's not quite natural.
Yeah, it's not good. That's what it is. It's not good.
No, it's not good.
That was funny. I was just like, what the fuck is this metal worm doing up in here?
Also, I have to watch another 50 minutes of this, was my note.
I appreciated the tight under 80 minutes of this movie. So, I think it's originally 72 minutes, but the German broadcast version is 79 minutes. So even in a longer broadcast version of this, it still was under 80 minutes. Because, like, the second I looked up and realized I had time left, I was like, could you imagine this as a 120?
I would die.
Like 120 minutes of disco worms. I'm bored thinking about it. I just yawned through that sentence.
YMCA is featured in a joke in which the metal worm is trying to pretend that he doesn't like disco because he's implying that disco is gay. And that was like 5 levels of woof. Are we really doing this right now? Like, it's 2008.
It was 2008 in Europe.
Yeah. Like, I'm uncomfortable with this gay worm joke.
I missed that. Also, the whole movie was about, the whole thing was boring. But it turns out my dog does not like synth drums.
Huh.
every time a drum would come on, she would just look around and just like then look at me and just be like, why? Why is this happening? But I really liked how Donna, their new drummer, clapped. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
It was the one-handed clap with her tail.
I did like that. It was someone put thought into it.
And I couldn't believe that this was a musical of all disco covers, and somehow it wasn't working for me.
Because they didn't use the musical element of it for anything. They weren't using disco to express feelings except for one scene in the movie.
Yeah, that's valid. I mean, we've seen musicals that even if we don't agree with them, we're at least like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, like Strange Magic. Oh, I hate to always bring it back to Strange Magic.
Okay, yeah.
But Strange Magic understood the purpose of music in a musical, which is to express a feeling that you don't want your characters to just directly say.
And, well, Jack and the Cuckoo Clock Heart also had that.
Yeah, and they did also a good job of trying to capture emotions with the music, even if I didn't always like or understand the music. I was always like, yeah, okay,
because
I see why we're
watched
singing
the
a song
English
here.
version.
Yes.
And Imaginarium
was music first.
Yeah, which, I mean, if you're telling a story about music, that makes sense. But, like, Disco Worms couldn't decide what to do with it, and therefore didn't do anything successfully. Yeah.
All right, so after being caught by Barry's boss trying to re-enter the music competition, the band is thrown into a bait box by the evil beetle in order to murder...
Real quick. Barry's boss isn't a worm.
No, he's like a fly?
He's a different kind of insect. So to me, this implies that there is like a weird worm hierarchy where worms cannot be upper management because of weird racism.
Yes, this is definitely a systemic racist thing, which is confirmed at the end of the film and is just not commented upon.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to point out that his boss is not a worm. Continue.
Yeah, no. So the band is thrown into a bait box in order to have them be murdered before they can be successful.
Yay!
While they're in the bait box, Gloria finally finds that she can sing, aka the soul of disco, and they are picked up to be bait at the same time. After a narrow escape from the clutches of a human, the worms prepare to join the competition. Gloria sabotages the singing beetle, leading to the disco worms being able to perform at the big show. Shockingly, they lose the competition due to the beetle paying off the judges to make someone else the winner, but they find out the boogie was in their hearts all along. Unironically, that's how this movie ends. We lost, but it's okay because we still can boogie. That this isn't a conflict. Gloria sucks, and Gloria gets mad that everyone tells her she sucks, but she does. It's not a conflict. I didn't feel bad for Gloria. I wasn't shocked by this. It didn't feel like a good Act 3 turn where everyone was like, Gloria, you're not good at singing. Because Gloria's
then she
not
turned
good at
out
singing.
to be good at singing.
Yeah, but she can only sing down-tempo, and she doesn't sing during the finale.
No. Because this is Barry's moment.
Not.
This is Sunshine Barry and die Disco Würmer. It's not, the whole group.
But it's
about
weird
Barry.
Because reading this last paragraph, it's very clear that Gloria is the one that actually has all of the autonomous action in the finale. Yeah. Barry is just there.
Well, it's because, once again, this, it all relates back. It's 25-year-old white guys who think everything should be handed to them, and that if they want to go off and be musicians and not work in management, it should just automatically happen and be handed to them, and they should be successful.
Yeah. But Gloria actually goes through character growth, has an important realization about herself, and then commits the action that allows the beetle to lose the competition as well, even though he pays off the judges. In theory, if the movie were about Gloria, they should have won based on her sabotaging the beetle and leaving them room to perform.
Right, and then this movie isn't about Gloria, because even if the movie is about worms, you're ruining everything. Even if the movie is about worms, we still can't have strong female characters. That's against the law. Also, do you really want that? Because then our main character would have been a worm with hair and tits.
Yeah, that's fair. Tits on a worm, man.
I 100% stopped paying attention. I jumped back into the competition bit, but I really started digging into the production of this film, mainly because it involved a lot of translating for me. And I really enjoy translating. And I actually ended up finding a fuck ton of info that you guys obviously heard at the beginning, including a director interview, which is so fucking rare for a lot of these movies, and especially European ones. So I was really fucking hype. And then, yeah, you always say it's boring. I say it's paced like a European film. I don't know what you want. European films are just paced. To Americans, they seem slower. But I would just say they're paced differently. So whenever I show somebody a film, they're like, wow, this film feels like it's taking forever. And there are a lot of quiet, contemplative moments. I'm like, yeah, because it's European, you fucking moron.
Rude.
Or it's Japanese. Or it's a Miyazaki movie.
I'm cute.
I feel like Korean films have a similar pacing, but I haven't seen enough of them to comment on that. Chinese CG animated films lean more towards the American quick pacing.
Ooh.
What?
Yeah, and we're going to watch one this season.
Oh, are we? What are we going to watch?
We're going to watch Rock Dog.
No, we're not counting
Emily,
Rock
you
Dog.
chose
I know, but we're not counting Rock Dog. I'm talking about movies like The Guardian Brothers.
Oh.
And,
okay.
Oh god, I want to say White Dragon, but I don't.
Good.
Guardian Brothers is great, and it should have competed with American animated films, but once again, the production company that distributed it is owned by Disney, and they purposely botched it so that it could not compete with American, aka Disney movies.
Huh. Damn, the mouse is gonna come for us.
Yeah, fuck you, Disney, come at me.
Alright. They're playing at the finale. The disco worms play
White Boy.
Play that funky music, White Boy. How do worms have a concept of white boys? Did Worm Society invent disco? Are these all covers of other insect songs? Are they covers of human songs? Where did disco originate from in the worm community?
I would like to think that worm culture is much like what people joke about Scotland is like. It's the same as human culture, but it's 30 years behind.
Huh.
So, everybody jokes, it's just we don't have to invent time travel, just go to Glasgow. And I'm like, ooh, really? Never been, cannot comment. But people joke about it. And somebody, when I was in New Zealand, I was talking about, I was like, oh man, it feels so different here, and it feels older. And somebody's just like, yeah, because we're 20 years in the past. I was like, oh no. Okay. Also, Barry asked if his dad did drugs.
Yeah, worm drugs. Barry's parents are having sex again.
Yay!
I still don't feel like this is a movie for children because it didn't make any of it fun. But it wasn't. It's weird because Miyazaki movies aren't fun, but I also don't think Miyazaki movies are solely for children. This, I feel like, is in theory a product that should be made and aimed at children. But it isn't, but it's also clearly not for the adult demo because it's fucking boring.
I
don't know.
I don't know. This is going to be me. I don't know. Are Miyazaki movies for children? I feel like they are for everyone.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
They're not okay.
But,
okay,
this isn't a movie for
get
everyone.
That.
This is a movie for no one.
Yes, Miyazaki films appeal to, I would say, everyone. Unless you hate happiness, they appeal to everybody. You could sit a kid down in front of a Miyazaki movie. You'd have to pick your Miyazaki movie carefully because some of them are weirdly. You
gotta start a baby off with Spirited Away or Ponyo and then work your way up.
No, start them with Ponyo and work from there. Because Ponyo, I would say, is the most action-packed and closest to an American animated film. And then, you can, once they're 15, you can show them Whisper of the Heart.
What about if you still gotta watch like Spirited Away and Kiki's
Well,
Delivery Service? You gotta watch
yeah,
My
but
Neighbor Totoro.
that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
You
this
sit
is
a
not
little
what
kid
we're
down.
here to do.
No, you sit a little kid down in front of Ponyo, and then like an older kid, you can sit down. I mean, you can't sit an older kid down, but like an older kid is going to appreciate Whisper of the Heart. You know,
Yeah.
an older kid is going to appreciate The Wind Rises, whereas like little kids, the fantasy, cute, cool elements of Spirited Away and Totoro and Kiki and Ponyo, they're gonna like those. Howl's Moving Castle, fucking dope as hell. Disco Worms, however, doesn't appeal to anyone except the guy who came up with the idea because he loves worms.
Here's where I got angriest. In
Okay.
the end of the movie, they do the big performance, and this is where most of the trailer comes from. And I was super pissed about it. They stacked the trailer with the last 5 minutes of the movie because they knew that no one would be interested in this film unless they saw it was brightly colored and fun. And I really thought the middle of the movie was going to be a lot of fun, warm performances. I felt like they made me wait until the end.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But yeah, I mean, you've already heard my complaints. I finished Disco Worms and I was ready to die.
I definitely had the better time researching the production of this movie, and I even lasted out the whole credit sequence and the end credit sequence.
Oh, was there a sequence after the credits that I missed?
There was. It was the opening narrator, because it starts off like a fake documentary where it's just like, look at the glory of the earthworm, blah, 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 blah. And it opens on that 4:3 aspect ratio with the narrator just riffing off about how much he hates this. And then this joke is just like, oh, was it rolling? Damn it. Like that. It was really stupid. It was midnight just as Disco Worms ended for me, and I was free. I was like, what a way to start my day.
God.
Are you ready to get into a little bit more? We're going to bookend this. We're going to talk a little bit more about how this film was for no one. Because
Okay,
of course we're going to.
let's hear it.
So, the total budget of Sunshine Berry und die Disco Würmer was about $5 million in 2008 money, which was 3% of what Pixar had for their budget of WALL-E.
Wow.
3%.
I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, so you hear, we say numbers, we're just like, they made it for $5 million. Oh, that's nothing, that's nothing. American CG animated movies regularly have a budget of over $100 million.
So, doing the math, very roughly, this is about 3 minutes of WALL-E. They made this movie for the cost of 3 minutes of WALL-E.
Yeah, I think we need to start doing that kind of comparison. So we'll find a movie that came out the same year that came from Pixar or Disney and do the budget and just be like, yeah, this had this percentage of WALL-E, like, or this percentage of, because it really is, I think, the most eye-opening comparison for these animated features. And this isn't just like, yeah, we've got this amount of money to make this feature. This was financed money. Like, it's really, it is so hard to compare American versus European animation because of the differences in how things are financed and how things are marketed and in how things are even distributed and how they're advertised, how they're released. And Nielsen actually has a take on this. He says, a good story is a good story, no matter if it is written in San Francisco or Copenhagen. And luckily, a good story is what the audience wants. So despite that our European movies can't have the same lavish production value as the big movies from studios like Pixar and DreamWorks, there is still a market for us. I would argue that yes, there is a market for European animated movies, but no, there is not a market for Disco Worms.
Yeah. Yeah, that's totally fair.
But, like, as somebody who complains about Pixar movies all having the same story, I appreciate that. Because I firmly stand by that. I think if you have a good script, and I've seen actually a couple movies recently that failed when it came to the initial writing of and then the execution, because if you don't have a strong script, if you don't have a strong story, even if you're adapting that story, if it's not strong enough, it's going to be a shitty movie. Looking at you, Jupiter Ascending.
Hey, don't tell that to Frozen. It might stop being worth $1 bazillion.
Hey now. That's what I'm talking about. It's the same story over and over and over and over and over, and people are used to it, so they just see it over and over and over.
Yeah, the mindless capitalist sheep are consuming the trash that the film industry is pouring at them.
Seriously.
Come listen to our podcast about independent animated movies and how we hate the current state of cinema.
I think we've watched like 2 big budget animated features. We watched Strange Magic and we watched The Lorax. Right? Just 2. And The Lorax was even like it was like half the budget of a Pixar, Disney, DreamWorks movie. Because it was 60 mil.
We also saw Mars Needs Moms.
Yeah. Rip. Once again, if your story had been stronger, I feel like Mars Needs Moms could have been vaguely okay.
Mars Needs Moms also needed to look less scary.
Yes, Robert Zemeckis needed to have been stopped.
Mars Needs Moms was the nail in the Zemeckis coffin, and for that I am grateful.
Thank you, Mars Needs Moms. Mars Needs Moms is a great movie, only because it stopped Robert Zemeckis.
Mars Needs Moms, we thank you for your service.
Da, 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 da. Reviews for Disco Worms. Speaking of playing taps. Ooh, not kind. Not kind at all.
This is unshocking to me.
The Euro cartoon. Okay, here's the other thing. This is my closest translation featuring Google Translate for words I did not know, because the only reviews I could find of this movie were foreign.
Oh no!
So
this is even worse.
If what I am reading sounds weird to you, it's because it was midnight and I was trying. My brain was not firing on all cylinders, and I was trying to take German into English. So, the Euro cartoon fails because of its moderate, unsympathetic animation. That may well be due to the short production time and low budget. But then, why even compete on a field in which Pixar and DreamWorks with tens of millions of dollars are involved? I also would like to appreciate all of the reviewers here who mentioned DreamWorks instead of Disney when they mentioned Pixar, because I really think that Pixar is superior to Disney. Moving on. Yeah, they acknowledge the time and the budget constraints that this movie had. Because a lot of the times reviews of foreign animated features, when they're reviewed in America, they don't take that into account. It's just like, this is garbage. And you're like, yeah, because it had 3% of the budget of WALL-E and was made in half the time. So okay. Although the animated film, realized in Danish-German co-production, had to make do with a fraction of the budget of other international productions and was realized in a relatively short time, it convinces with lovingly designed and appealing animated characters.
Aww.
So it's just like, yep, you didn't have the time, you didn't have the money, but at least you loved it. Okay. Yeah. And then we have the touching story about an outsider who yearns for recognition and respect and is prepared to fight for it is accompanied by a great soundtrack. While the older ones will amuse themselves with allusions such as Shamlock 54 or Kafkaesque seeming composting office units, and a raspberry that turns on Barry's earthworm head to afro look wig, I was really tired. So
you're accurate, which is the funny part. I understand what's happening in this review.
Laugh and marvel at the youngsters' over verbose or the adventurous escape from an angler. So basically what they're saying is this movie is for everybody. Older adults are going to be like, ha ha ha, all of these disco references. Look, Barry has an afro because an earthworm... No, fuck. Barry has an afro because a raspberry is on his head and he looks like a disco worm now. Ha ha ha. And little kids are going to be like, wow, what an action-packed, fun movie about disco worms.
Yeah, there it is.
No, guys, no. This movie wanted to do that. It wanted so badly to do exactly what this review says they're doing. But it didn't. It didn't do that good. It did it bad.
It did do it bad.
It did it bad. I don't want to say it did it bad. It did it unsuccessfully. There's a difference between doing something poorly and doing something unsuccessfully. And I would say that Disco Worms did it unsuccessfully.
Yeah.
Because I like to give people the benefit of the fucking doubt.
I can fully agree with that.
Thank you. On an unrelated note, European movies... There is going to be a restored version of a Hungarian cult classic animated feature, Son of the White Mare, getting a U.S. theatrical release. And as people may have learned from our Toys in the Attic episode, as a fan of animated films produced in countries that were under communist or formerly under communist control, I'm fucking hype about it.
Please note, that's also Emily's Tinder bio. Fan of animated films produced in countries under communist or formerly communist control.
Well, it's going on my Tinder bio now. Think about how many dudes are going to swipe right and how many more dudes are going to be like, oh, I also love Son of the White Mare. None of them.
What's communism?
What's communism? Oh, you're a communist? You're a communist? I'll be like, da, comrade.
So definitely put that on your Tinder bio. Overall, I would rate Disco Worms as a DNE, do not engage, do not watch, not worth your time.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree.
Disco Worms is not a hot fire, so it's not funny to watch, but it's also not good enough that I think you should go on Amazon Prime and load up Disco Worms. FYI, it is available to stream on Amazon Prime. I don't think it will ever leave. Who will buy the rights to Disco Worms?
Me, because they're $5. And then I can just...
If you buy a DVD copy of Disco Worms, you also get the rights to it.
You don't know. Guess who's gonna email fucking Thomas Nielsen now?
Yes, please get the adaptation rights to Disco Worms so we can release it in TikTok form.
Could you imagine doing disco? Okay, here's what I want you to imagine. I want you to imagine Disco Worms. As an Aardman movie.
Yes. Okay. Disco Worms as an Aardman movie would be so charming, though.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like it's not a bad movie. It just was not successful. It had marks that it tried to hit, and it didn't hit them. Therefore, unsuccessful rather than bad. And I feel like a style change could have helped. And I feel like having longer than 16 months to work on your story would have helped. But yeah, the style change, CG animation is becoming more prevalent, mainly, oh God, I don't know how to word this without, okay. CG animation is becoming more prevalent because it's more profitable and it's easier to do. It's easier for a lay person to learn Maya or Blender or ZBrush or Unreal or any of those programs than it is for a layperson to learn the concepts of animation by hand and draw a movie or create armatures and make a stop motion movie. Because CG, there are whole websites dedicated to, you can purchase a set, you can purchase, sorry, not a set, you can purchase an environment, you can purchase characters, you can, it's just so, it's everywhere. So CG animation doesn't have to look good, it just has to exist. And I feel like that's kind of what Disco Worms is. Had this been a 2D animated movie, I think it would have been better. If it was a stop motion movie, I think it would have been better. But because it's CG and because of the limited budget, I feel it was unsuccessful in its design choices.
Yeah, I can respect that.
Yeah. That's my hot take on Disco Worms.
That's a good hot take. Speaking of hot takes, this week, our Patreon bonus rewards are going to be off the Chizane. For Season 4, we'll be offering unique and personalized Patreon rewards each week to our donators. This week, if you purchase the Melanie Patreon reward, you will receive angry texts about whatever television show I'm currently watching. How has it been ruined? Will I continue watching it? Will I still watch Steven Universe, even though I got so angry at the finale that I turned it off midway through and then pulled it back on, and then got mad that now Steven has a neck? Find out by supporting our podcast. The Melanie rewards always come with the additional benefit of me bothering you at inopportune times. Isn't it great? Don't you want the virtual friendship we have inside of your ears to be also inside of your phone? You sure do. But if you're not interested in the Melanie tier, there's also the Emily tier rewards. Virtually join Emily on a walk with her dog. Video chat in to Emily's dog walk as she tells you about her day and how angry she is. But also protect her while she walks her dog in strange areas. Despite the fact that Emily has a large dog, she still needs your help in order to stay safe. Emily is not protected unless she is accompanied by a secondary person, and you can do that for a small, small fee.
That's legit. I was followed by a man with an axe in my neighborhood once.
Yeah, but nothing weird ever happens as long as a second person is there, except sometimes it does. But really, you want to be there to see it. That's like a bonus.
LA is wild. Donate to our Patreon so that I can afford to move somewhere nice.
Also that. But yeah, donate to our Patreon.
Also, we'll make it. We don't have one. We're going to have to create one because somebody's going to be like, hey, I went to look you guys up on Patreon and you don't exist. What happens? What happens when that happens?
What happens when that happens is we go, the joke is that we don't have a Patreon, nerd. Also, we're sponsored by Casper. Casper mattresses. They're comfortable. Oh, yeah, that's right. We're advertising for products that don't sponsor us.
Yeah, this is free advertising.
CasperTheGhost.com.
You know what? Fucking go see a goddamn movie. Like an actual movie. Not a Disney movie.
Yeah.
I challenge everybody listening to this goddamn podcast to watch something that is not made by Disney or by something that is owned by Disney.
You also can't have it if it's distributed by something Disney owns, so you really got to get in there and look. You gotta go to that Wikipedia article and click a lot of deep links. No, you can't see any Fox movies. Those are owned by Disney.
No, you can't watch anything distributed by the Weinstein Company.
Owned by Disney. Touchstone Pictures?
Owned by Disney.
You can't go and see that live-action Lion King remake. I keep saying that because that's how they fucking marketed it. It's animated.
No, I'm mad. Hey, that's the Patreon bonus. It's Emily just ranting about live-action, air quotes around live-action adaptations.
Live-action. Yeah, I would actually like to do that as well. Maybe we should do that as a Patreon bonus.
Maybe we should actually make a Patreon.
Oh, well.
Shit!
Find out next week if we actually made a Patreon or not. As always, these have been our opinions, and they're certainly animated. I'm Melanie.
I'm Emily.
Bye.
Fuck. Bye. Jesus Christ.